Oh yeah, I saw this. This is terrifying. This is spooky. Reopening Gitmo. Well, not reopening. We're really expanding it. Remember how a little while ago, when Trump first came in, they were talking about reopening Gitmo and adding like thousands and thousands of beds? The Trump administration is planning to dramatically ramp up sending undocumented migrants to Guantanamo Bay starting this week, with at least 9,000 people being vetted for transfer. Now, the crazy thing is that it's not all Latin Americans. Where does it say this here? Some 800 Europeans, including one Austrian, 100 Romanians, and 170 Russians, are being considered for the transfers. So the insane thing about this is that normally, when you hold people for extended detention awaiting deportation, the problem is that it's not always easy to get people back to their countries. For example, a big one is Venezuela. Another big one is Haiti. It's not easy to just pack people on a plane and send them over to Venezuela. We're not on good terms, you know? But Austrians? Romanians? I'm not defending Gitmo in these other cases. I'm not saying it's okay to put someone in Gitmo if they're Venezuelan. That's not true. I am saying, apparently, like, Gitmo will be like an all-purpose detention center for undocumented migrants now. There's not gonna, it's not like a, oh, well, there's some situation to be resolved. It's just any of them. That element of the plan has alarmed some U.S. diplomats who note that most European countries are American allies that are cooperative in taking back deportees and that there's no need to send the people to Guantanamo. Well, we're doing it for the love of the game. We're doing it for the love of the game. State Department officials who deal with Europe are trying to persuade DHS to abandon the plan. They're going to get sacked by Rubio. The message is to shock and horrify people, to upset people. One State Department official familiar with the situation said of the Guantanamo plan, but we're allies. What administration do you think you're working for, motherfucker? We're not allies with anyone. What are you're working for Rubio. What are you talking about, allies? It is not clear how long people newly sent to Guantanamo would stay there before being sent to their home countries. Dude, they are so desperate. They are so desperate for space. The federal government has no space. They do not have the room to detain these undocumented immigrants while waiting to ship them out. They do not have the room. Is there, do we know how many beds they have in total? Hold on. Total number of ICE detention facility beds. It's not specifically ICE. Yeah, that's right. Okay. Keep in mind, the number of people they want to deport is ostensibly around 20 million. How many beds? How many beds? No cheating. Don't Google it. How many beds does ICE have? 32,000 or 0.2%. And it can take a while, by the way, to remove people, to secure a person's deportation. And this is 32,000 beds scattered all around the country. Really, though, wouldn't they be able to just acquire what they need? That's what they're trying to do. That's what they're trying to do. That's what happened in Newark. That's what they're doing in LA, right? Well, the one in LA is a federal detention center, but in Newark, they commandeered a facility to use it. The same thing happened in, was it Santa Ana, right? They were the ones who said they canceled their lease with ICE. They try to requisition this this territory, but in order to do so, they have to comply with, you know, the city. Glendale? Glendale, yeah. Okay, not to be that person, but when are the mass graves starting? Because that's unworkable. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's why the final solution. But like, it's worth remembering, right? Hitler wanted the final solution from the beginning. They all did, right? It's not like the Nazis, you know, after the fourth idea for dealing with their Jewish population, we're like, oh, I guess we have to. We have no choice. Of course, they always wanted the final solution. They just had to build enough, you know, internal excuses and social pressure and blah, blah, blah. They called it the final solution. Like, does that not indicate already how, like, pathetically, hand-wringingly, like, forcing the issue they are? The final solution? Even the term removes from the Nazis their agency in the genocide. Literally, like, they named it the, I guess we have no other choice genocide. That's their name for it. Wouldn't the mass graves upset a good bit of Trump voters, though? The way the Republican Party is right now, I'd say right now, I don't know, what stage of it? Because the Nazis didn't openly broadcast everything they did, right? A lot of it was depending on your proximity to the camps. Like, most Germans knew what was going on, but that doesn't necessarily mean they knew everything that was going on, right? They knew enough to make them morally culpable, I'll tell you that much. Yeah, at first, it was a lot of people getting loaded onto train cars. And, you know, this is where it starts, right? Arrests and removals from population. Okay, so there's step one. Right now, a majority of Americans support the removal of undocumented immigrants in some form or another. Okay, so what happens if it turns out that the Republicans start cramming these immigrants into facilities where they are starved and tortured? Well, we're kind of already there, right? Like, the one in LA is already triple crowded and they aren't getting food regularly. And there are lots and lots and lots of reports of abuse in federal detention facilities. Now, I'm not suggesting that the federal detention facilities are death camps or even concentration camps, because they don't always necessarily meet those criteria, though a lot of them kind of do, at least with the concentration camp part. But they do, you know, there is rampant abuse at these facilities, right? So right now, the average Republican supports this. So what if, you know, immigrants start dying? Well, some have. I think the last number I heard was 7 people have died under ICE care, but it's not people, you know, dying of natural cause. 9 now. It's not people dying of natural causes. It's usually like people's medical conditions being neglected or, you know, that sort of thing. It's a consequence of the neglect and the abuse and what have you. So, like, again, at what point exactly will Republicans start to speak against this? Because everything they're not seeing it for themselves. That's getting filtered through to them, you know, propaganda. So at what point, you know? Right now, I don't think the GOP can start filling mass graves. But I bet you Miller wants to. When Miller takes to social media, wringing his hands and saying about how, you know, explaining how they had no other choice, what he describes will have been the thing he fantasized about from the beginning. You know? Miller wants mass graves, and he will work to get us there. He will absolutely work to get us there. So the question is, from his perspective, what bullshit string of excuses does he need to chain together to bring us to that point? Anyway, schlepping 9,000 people at Gitmo is probably somewhere, it's one of those steps. It's probably somewhere along those. So, you know.